There's obviously a level of comprehensiveness in this test. And you mentioned that complementary to others. Do you see this as something, because a lot of people are looking at this, especially in medicine. I know that there's so much out there now. There's so many new tests. There's more functional panel tests. There's so much out there that it becomes quality over quantity, because quantity could become overwhelming to try and piece everything together when you have thousands of tests. Do you see this as something that starts to substitute those tests and gives you that overall picture that you really want to get the snapshot of?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Currently, in metabolomics, we do not test many of the blood parameters that physicians commonly rely on to make various diagnoses. For instance,
Or you behind me, we're not looking at TNF alpha. We're not looking at
C-reactive protein. We're not looking at hemoglobin A1C. Not yet. Hopefully, by the end of the year, we will build out a full proteomics assay as well, because these are proteins and these are larger molecules. And our metabolomics platform is designed to handle anything that's 1,500 Daltons or less. And so as we advance our layering up, we will get to the point where doctors can come to us to perform their regular complete blood panels. We already obviate the need for a physician's OAT. So if a physician is running an organic acid test, we have every single one of them in our panel. If a physician is running an amino acid test, we have most of the ones in their panel, but in addition to a couple of other ones that usually cannot be monitored. So we have already sort of obviated the need for some of the tests. And as we increase our system's levels and we go all the way up to the proteome and then through to the genome, we hope to be the sort of one-stop shop for complete deep molecular profiling. And we're already doing that and have done that in our researcher. My co-founder and I, Alex Moore, we had this idea. We were very frustrated with the state of translational science, and we had this idea in our doctoral programs, and we are very frustrated also with the state of integrative omics analysis. To give you a quick and dirty version, most researchers who are trying to layer omics levels and do a complete bioinformatics analysis are really relying on simple correlational analysis, and very few researchers are using tools such as MMVec that is looking at pattern co-occurrence between, if you do a 16S test of the stool and then you do fecal microbiomics and fecal metabolomics together. How do you assimilate that data? How do you reconcile them together, and how do you get meaningful results? And most researchers, again, are using very simple correlational analysis that are ill-fitted to really providing results. Correlation doesn't mean that they're happening together, but we're looking at co-occurrence patterns and probability indices that are much more advanced, and they're informed. Obviously, these are performed by artificial intelligence machines, but these are tools that are developed by researchers and were modified by others. And we use this already to look at co-occurrence patterns of the fecal microbiota and the fecal metabolome of a group of college students. And I was just giving a seminar yesterday where I used this paper as a case study. We were doctoral students, Alex and I, my co-founder, and we took this data science course known as microbiomics data science. And we took the course, and the professor said, bring your own data to the class, and we'll do the projects, we'll learn the analyses, and then we'll code your analyses for this data. And hey, who knows, you might get something good and we could publish it. So Alex and I had, he had his microbiome data and I had my metabolomics data, and they happened to be from the same cohort, which was a sample of convenience from a college student study here at ASU. And we ran them together, and we found some very interesting things, specifically the consumption of phenylalanine by a set of 5 gut microbiota, and we saw high co-occurrence of that interaction happening in most probably in the intestinal lumen, because phenylalanine doesn't quite get in that easily into the mitochondrial matrix. So it comes in via tyrosine, and we showed this very synthesized thesis of what is going on, and we produced this great figure, and we plugged in our implied predicted changes in enzymes, the metabolite changes, as well as the microbiome changes, to get a really deep sense of what's going on without doing any sort of really experimental technique other than just taking the samples and analyzing them in an associative way. And that study is published in Scientific Reports last year. It's the first study that investigated the microbiomic and metabolomic profiles of high screen time. So the difference between the groups was that some college students had really abnormally levels of high levels of screen time, and some had low levels. And we found a molecular signature of just that digital interaction. So let alone when you're looking for signatures for diabetes or cancer, right? There are signatures for digital interaction with screens that we've typified.
Yeah, there's so much you could do here. And it excites me when you say things like one-stop shop and really comprehensiveness of it all. It's what I believe medicine should be doing. It should be providing all these solutions in an easier format. It's one of the reasons I remember back in the day, and now it's quite a dangerous thing to bring up, but Theranos and Elizabeth Holmes and the testing there, right? And listen, I mean, we used to do some interesting testing. We're accused of being Theranos at one point because we take a drop of blood and analyze in different ways. And listen, that was her whole thing. She did very non-legit, but the idea behind it was kind of simplistic and logical. You don't need that much, I believe, to truly analyze if you do it in a advanced way, and you could pull a lot out of that. You got billions of cells in that one drop, and you're doing it through the dried blood analysis, and there's so much more yet to be done there. And that's the exciting part of everything that I think we need to embrace. A lot of people get scared at that idea and kind of want to separate it, and you draw lots of blood, and you have to go to the labs, and it makes it so inconvenient. And I'm not saying it should be super convenient and that should be the end game. It should be super accurate, number one. If you can make it convenient, amazing, great, because you're going to get more people involved in it. But, how far do you think you are, let's say, from getting to that point where you are closer to a one-stop shop, checking a lot of different parameters and making it easier and easier to gain access to that?
I'd like to say I don't know. Elizabeth Holmes and Theranos is a really interesting.
Yeah.
And you have to understand that I watched that flame go up in flames during my doctoral program with a clenched fist and grinding my teeth, knowing that her. Okay, so she had a good vision of what it should be like. She had however, her flaw, of course, was her willingness to commit fraud in order to, she was impetuous. Her willingness to commit fraud in order to, hurry this product along. Her biggest fraud, of course, was the Edison box. This quite literally black box. I mean, it was literally a black box that didn't do what it was purporting to do. She was pushing the science and engineering well beyond what we're capable of, all in the pursuit of making a machine. Well, if you were really going to do true health testing, you would have a room full of 2 or 3 machines that would take up the whole room. And her thing was like, we're going to bring it all into this box. And there's no need to do that. There's no need to reinvent the wheel. And what we are doing is using, very publicly curated and available databases, in addition to our own informatics and bioinformatics pipelines. And we have many layers that we plan to weave in to increase transparency. Not only do we report 126 metabolites, and we use cited literature. So when you would go do a Theranos test for, a blood test, they would take your thing. They wouldn't tell you what they were testing. They wouldn't tell you how they were testing it. And they would just say, you have this thing, let's say renal failure or not. And you would ask, well, how do you know? What in the blood did you you said that's our information. What we're saying is, this is exactly how we take your blood. These are the articles that have shown that dry blood spot testing is not only accurate, reliable, and convenient, but provides a great measure of metabolite integrity and fidelity. We provide that. We tell you exactly, very detailed, how we are analyzing your metabolites. We show you what metabolites were measured to come up with your aging index, what metabolites were measured for your mitochondrial index. And then we show you the study that shows that. And in the future, everything is documented and transparent, not just because we are trying to dispel sort of the odious space that Theranos has left us with. And it doesn't help that I named the company Theriome. I understand our first 4 letters are overlapping, but I really like the name, the theory of omics, Theriome. Yeah. As I mentioned before we started, all we have in science is a theory or a set of theories that are continuously revisited and revised. And so I think the name sticks, but we have documented that not just because we're trying to set ourselves apart from Theranos, but also because it's your data. It is your health information. And we want you to remain educated and engaged about it. So bringing the science and the literature and the proof and the evidence and the methods to the forefront is something we place great emphasis on. And in the future, we do plan to implement blockchain technology, a private blockchain technology, whereby your data will be stored securely for you, accessible only by you, completely transparent, auditable, and immutable. And that raw data is not just numbers on an Excel sheet. That raw data will house your mass spectrogram, your sequencing information. We will have the raw mass spec and sequencing data and other platforms' data as we add it on to your specific blockchain ID. We are working to develop a lot that is going to hopefully make our systems and our processes transparent and beyond reproach, although we know that that's never going to happen. And so we're always committed to detailing and explaining as much as we can without giving away, patents and trade secrets. And whatever is patented, we can talk about because nobody can use it. But if something is going through patenting or if something is a trade secret, and there's very little of it, maybe 5% of our processes are like that.
Yeah.
But the truth of it is in that 95% that is completely transparent and open and we share.
Yeah.
Enthusiasm.
I think it's really cool to utilize technology in this way.